SN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And welcome. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network. It's Kerry, Lutz, and you know that I am a dyed-in-the-wool entrepreneur to the core of my being, every inch of my soul. I love entrepreneurism. Shark Tank is my favorite show. If I haven't said it before, I'm in the process of watching every episode that's ever been recorded while trying to keep up with the new episodes as well. That's why I'm really happy to present next person. He's an author, critically acclaimed author of a book that you should definitely get, The Entrepreneur's Success and Sacrifice. He founded The Risk Takers to capture some of our most famous entrepreneurs' secrets of success and lessons learned about starting and operating a small and sometimes large business. He uses his expertise to show why taking a risk can be your key to accomplishment. And look, the economy now is so horrible. New business formations are at an all-time low. The government has done everything they can to make you not want to take a risk, and yet so many of you are still doing it, and I encourage you to do it. I'm doing it myself now with the Financial Survival Network and various other entrepreneurial undertakings. And you got to really enjoy the next guest. His name's Kip Marlow. Kip, welcome back.
Thank you very much, Kerry. It's a delight to be back.
So, Kip, you're still out there doing your thing here, helping entrepreneurs. And obviously, there's something about it that, and despite this horrid economy, despite the government doing everything in their power to make you fail, you're still doing it.
Well, I'm still trying to help people do it too, and you are absolutely right on both sides. The economy is not good, no matter what people say. It's certainly much better than it was a few years ago, but it's still not conducive to people taking a risk. So I try to encourage, inspire, and teach entrepreneurship the best I can by through my book, through the Risk Takers vignettes that are on about 55 stations nationwide, and I hope to have double that by the end of the year. And I speak to college classes on entrepreneurship, trying to encourage them to start something, start a dream, start something you're passionate about. Well, and that's kind of my goal in life right now.
And that's such a great thing. And the future of the country, the future of the world really depends upon you out there starting a business, taking the risk. But, and this is a big but, the risk has to be calculated, like you say. It's got to be manageable. Because if you're a good entrepreneur, you're managing risk. You're not just blindly rolling the dice, hoping on the come out roll anyway, that a 7 or an 11 comes up. You're doing your best to make sure that the 7 or 11 comes up.
Well, there's no question about that. And so many people do take a calculated risk. Some people take an uncalculated risk and roll the dice with all their money, which can be difficult. A calculated risk is, for example, in one of the chapters in the book, I talk about Sharon Ward, who was a banker. Bankers are pretty good with money, and she and her husband always wanted to start a company, and they had a few bucks in the bank, and they just took, if I remember correctly, about $20,000 aside, and being a financial guy, you'll understand this, and an entrepreneur. And they said, I'm starting this company. If I go through the $20,000 and it doesn't look promising in the future, I will just go back to banking. And so that would be kind of a calculated risk. You're not losing everything you own. You're just taking a piece of what you have and rolling the dice a little bit with that small piece. Unfortunately for those people, it worked really well. Sharon and her husband are doing extremely well. They haven't gone back to banking at all, and never will.
And it's not a question of money, really, because if you're really smart, you can get other people to put the money up and not give a lot of your equity out.
Yes.
But and I found for myself, the best businesses I've done really involved very little money. In fact, for me personally, the less money I had to spend, the better, because I was a much more wiser steward of resources when I had smaller amounts of money to spend, and when I've had larger amounts, like doing Financial Survival Network, I haven't been the best steward of those assets because survival makes you a lot more wiser a steward of your assets.
That is so true, Kerry. You just hit something on the head because most companies are bootstrapped. When I started my company way back when, I took no money out of it. I had it wasn't even called an equity loan at the time. I just took a second mortgage on my house, and it wasn't that much. And I used that, and it worked out really well. But then when I was in business, I borrowed $2 million from the bank for inventory and receivables because I was growing so fast. And I really thought, oh, heck, I can, maybe I'll gamble a little bit and do this marketing program. And that was dumb. That was really, really dumb. When you have all that kind of money, you blow some of it. And when you don't have the money, you spend it extremely wisely and a lot more effectively. There's no question about it.
Human nature. It's really human nature.
Yeah.
I've got a good friend. He's a client also who's made a fortune in real estate. And he came from a credit background, first making real estate loans at a major bank. And then he was a finance manager at a major car dealer. And when he started doing his own real estate, you know what, Kip? He never borrowed a penny. And he's made major seven-figure incomes for many years, never borrowing a cent, never leveraging up. When the real estate collapse hit in 08-09, that's when he's made the biggest amount, the largest amount of profit, and he still hasn't levered up. And people say, like you could just lever up 25%, 50%. Think of how much more you could buy. And he says, what do I need to do that for? I'm doing just fine here. I don't need it. He owns his house free and clear. He owns all of his cars free and clear. He's got seven-figure retirement account. He's got zero debt other than his monthly credit card bills. That's it.
Yeah, Kerry, I would highly recommend you tell him, or you suggest to him, that he write a book on what he did.
He actually has just finished the book. I'm doing a podcast for him now. It's called Real Estate Investing That Works. Highly recommend anybody that's listening to this now that you check out this podcast. And I don't say that it's the right way. I believe some debt, there's like Robert Kiyosaki says, Kip, that there's some debt that's good debt and there's bad debt. Like you go put on your credit card, even if it's 0% interest to buy a flat screen, that's not going to make you a damn cent. But you buy a multifamily apartment house and you go and leverage that up, and especially if it's non-recourse, I see nothing wrong with that. But I'm not going to argue with Mike's success. He's made a lot more money than a lot more money lately than I have, and he's done it using his system, and anyone can do it. But he's an entrepreneur, so a lot of paths to get to the brass ring, isn't there?
There really are, and I have a friend of mine who's also in my book. His name is Scott Marincek, and he took a risk, and the risk was when he was 19 years old. He decided, when you're 19, you know everything, and your parents are dumb, and you know how that works.
Sure.
And he decided he was going to make this was 22 years ago. He was going to develop the first environmentally safe commercial cleaner. And at night, and he didn't even have a college degree. He didn't know anything about it. He just used trial and error. He was going to a community college at the time to be a firefighter or a paramedic, something like that. And he used his mother's kitchen as his laboratory. And he would concoct all kinds of things. And finally, one day, he put something in his mother's blender, and this is really taking a risk, Kerry, and put this solution formula in his mother's blender and turned it on, and it blew up the blender, and he had all this green stuff all over the kitchen. His mother was outside working in the yard, and he was scared to death she was going to be very, very upset with him, and she was, by the way. He cleaned it all up, but when he cleaned it up, it proved that he found the right formula. It worked. So now, 22 years later, Mom was really upset at that. Now it's a $450 million a year company, and he's 42 years old.
And that is a wonderful story, and we got to hear more of it up next on the Financial Survival Network.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Every week the show is growing. Would you like to be a part of it? Then go to clubfsn.com and help support us with $1, $2, $5, or $10 a month and get a host of premium content with newsletters dropped into your mailbox, free books, private audio clips, webinars, and much more. Then join clubfsn.com. If you want to get ahead of the trend and ensure your family's financial security before it's too late, go to clubfsn.com and sign up.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
And if you're just tuning in, we've got Kip Marlow with us, a lifelong entrepreneur who teaches others how to do it. So, Kip, he's got this $400 million company now making organic cleaners, and it was serendipitous, and I assume that he bought his mother a new blender after that. Probably a better model too at that, right?
I think, yeah. Right now, his mother, because I think she got a little bit of stock in the company. I think his mother is very happy at this point.
I'll bet she is.
But you've heard these stories. He financed his company with his credit cards. Mm-hmm. He would max out one, get another one, max out one, get another one. And finally he said, and I would never do this, by the way, and you probably would never do this, but and finally he said the rubber band on those credit cards was getting pretty tight. So I had to start making money, and he did, and he paid off the credit cards. And of course, as they say, the rest is history. Actually, I think Scott has, in the last couple of months, sold his company. And he's having a good time at 42 with his 3 houses across the world. So,
what a wonderful story!
Those kind of stories are so much fun, and I've got another one for you. If you have a minute,
oh sure, we got time.
You're talking about,
sure.
Yeah, you're talking about Shark Tank the other night. Sometimes Shark Tank has young kids on the program. I interviewed a kid on a radio show one time. In fact, this was 2 weeks ago. His name is Hart Maine. And I even wrote a vignette and had it narrated, and it's being played across the country right now. Hart Maine's sister, when he was in school, came home from school one day, and she was selling candles, scented candles, for a fundraiser for some school project. And Hart said, at 13 years of age, he said, "Why don't they make candles scented for guys?" And his mother said...
Great question. I'd like to know the answer to that. Why don't they?
Yes, it's a good question. Well, the answer is Hart's mother, Amy, said, "Why don't you do it, Hart?" And he did. So at the age of 13, he made scented candles for men, like called New Mitt, as in baseball mitt, Burning Leaves, stuff like that. And he was in the Huffington Post. And when he was in the Huffington Post, he got 1,800 orders in 2 days.
Wow.
And his biggest problem was delivering it. And the way he did it was incredible. This young kid, who is now, by the way, 17, developed quite a little company. I don't know if it's $1 million a year company yet, but he originally just wanted to sell some candles to buy a bike. Well, he ended up buying 2 bikes and a brand new car. So, and he's going to be able to put himself through college, on the money he's making from the company called Man Cans. So, by golly, ask yourself those questions and analyze and take that risk. It wasn't much of a risk for Hart, but he took it, and he didn't. He used soup cans as the what do you call it? I can't remember the name. It's slipping. You put the candles in, and they're formed inside the soup cans, and then he takes the soup and he donates. I think he's donated 80,000 meals to local food shelters, and again, as they say, the rest is history. He's got a nice little company there, and he's going to pay his way through college with it. So it can be done. Anybody can do it if you really put your mind to it.
That is a great story, and I totally agree with you. But you can't give up, and you have to understand that the challenges you face are really good because they help you grow. And they help you become the person that you're going to become, and they're your pathway to success.
Absolutely. And few people talk about that. And I'm glad you brought that up, Kerry, because financially it certainly helps communities and families and so on. But it's certainly, when you have something successful and you work for a company or a startup that's successful, you walk a little taller. You feel better, and you're proud of what you do. Yeah, that's just as important.
That's the key to self-esteem, right? Accomplishment.
Exactly.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree with you. And it's this thing of being scared to fail. So many of you are just afraid to take a risk because you don't want to fail, and then you fail by failing to take a risk, right? Isn't that really the worst thing?
I think you put it really well, and you talked at the top of your show about all the government rules and regulations that are stopping people from taking those risks. That people are more and more risk averse these days, but these days, it's harder to find money if you really need to start up money, because I took a second mortgage on my house, for example. And a lot of people who would love to start a company don't have any more value in their house today than their mortgage is. So they can't take that equity line of credit. And that was government induced. That had nothing to do with the private economy. And I find it if we can get back to our roots, get back to being positive about building an economy, get back to lowering taxes and so on, the atmosphere will be so much better for startups. And again, you alluded to it yourself earlier. It's the future of our economy. Most new jobs are from small business. And without small business being created, what's the future of our economy going to be like? It's not going to be as good.
No, it's not. And you're so correct. And I don't want to get into bashing particular politicians, but I can't hold myself back here. But something like Dodd-Frank, which has made, and the Consumer Financial Protection Board has just made getting a mortgage so much more difficult for you. Getting second mortgages. Because, look, real estate crashed in 08, 09. I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't know. But to some extent, it has come back in many areas. And the government and restrictions and manipulation of interest rates has slowed that down and made it really a much more arduous process than it ever should have been. And the more the government intercedes in markets, the more the markets fail to function in their primary purpose, which is price discovery and liquidity, assigning values to assets in the markets and now allowing participants to buy and sell those assets, whether it's houses or whether it's cocoa futures or you name it. It doesn't matter. You go used cars, whatever. And the more the government makes it more difficult, the more obstacles they put there, the more difficult it is to realize values. Now, I don't necessarily think that getting a second mortgage is the best way to raise funds. I think there are better ways of doing it, especially in this day and age with crowdsourced funding, which wasn't available to you, Kip, and me when we were doing it. But last time I set out, I had so many private investors, accredited investors. I had over 100 of them, people throwing money at me in 2002 like you couldn't believe. Literally millions of dollars. It's because of my reputation and my partner's reputations. And we just rocketed off like you couldn't believe. All of our investors were rewarded and we weren't greedy at all. But there's so many ways of doing it out there. And there still is. That's the amazing thing. My friend Mike, client and close personal friend now, he just put an ad in the paper for a piece of real estate. He doubled his money overnight and continues to do things like that. He's so creative and brilliant in the way he does it. And the only thing that really holds you back from doing it yourself is limited thinking. And I think that's really what you talk about a lot in your book, huh?
Yes, just the fear of failure. A lot of people, it's not just the fear of losing money, it's the fear of what your family's going to say if you don't make it, that kind of thing. There's a fear because there's always somebody that says, no, you shouldn't do that. Just keep working in your cubicle at the corporation. And that's scary. That's just scary to me because everybody gets that, or a lot of people get that advice that really isn't necessarily good advice.
Yeah, it's slow death for me. Even working for myself, doing that is just awful. But everybody's got to take their own road, their own path, and it's so important that you just find what's right for you. And some risks, you can't look at a failure as the end of the road. It's just could open up whole new vistas if you treat it right. Anyway, Kip, your book, where do we get it? Your websites, where do we find them? How do we connect with you?
Connect with me through my website at ecrsuccess.com. You can buy the book through there, or you can buy the book on this tiny little company out in the West Coast called Amazon.com.
Oh, that little one. Yeah, that was another one that somebody took a risk. You could debate. You could debate the quality of their earnings, but you can't debate the impact that company has had. Right? It was somebody's dream.
That's it. It's incredible. Boy, but they get knocked. It was only going to be books, and some people didn't think that was going to work either. Well,
now the Kindle, right? This is incredible when you think what they've done. And you'll find the link to Kip's site over at financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Make sure you take a close look at that site, by the way. Alternative financial info for you. That's real important in the current economic climate. Should take a look. Our webmaster, Stefan, slaves away at that site for hours a day. And sign up for our webinars coming up. Mike Gazzola is going to have one that you really want to take a look at. And hey, Kip, a total pleasure. Really appreciate you taking time out from your day to come talk with us again. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure indeed. Thank you so much.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.